Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to another YouTube and Facebook Live. And I'm here tonight with Bird Mejia. I'm so welcome. Bird is an intuitive healer and heart shaman who comes from a lost lineage of curanderas, intuitives, and shaman from her indigenous Mexican ancestors. She specializes on healing ancestral trauma that shows up as heartbreak, drama, addiction, depression, toxic or broken relationships. I know we all need that. The work with that, narcissistic abuse, anxiety, anger, grief, and disease. Bird is a certified Naam Yoga instructor, a Harmonium Healing and Gendai Reiki Ho practitioner. You a Ho practitioner. She is, I had to say that. She is trained in Shamanic Energy Medicine, Oracle card reading, and Chakra energy healing, as well as the ancient energy medicine of her indigenous ancestors from Mexico. Bird is also a mother, a kitty mama, a poet, writer, and plant-based cook. So, what is Nam Yoga?
It is similar to Kundalini Yoga. So it's a lot of breath work and mantras and mudras. So, it looks like So a lot of the yoga has several different branches, and the asanas, regular yoga, like most of us know it, is about the asanas, is the poses. So this has a lot of the other branches, including the breath work. Life change. It's what got me out of a very unhappy marriage and relationship and started my healing journey.
Wow. So, guys, I see people are coming on. Listen, she has an amazing story that you just have to hear. Like when I was, interviewing Bird for my podcast, my show, I was just like, oh my God. And so this is how we came up with raising your vibration for sex and energy based on what she's been through. And it's just amazing. So I want to say hello to those coming on. Hello, Bianca. Hello, Brenda. Welcome. As everyone is coming on, say hello. Let us know you're here. So my voice just cracked in that. And I had another question. And what is harmonium healing?
Harmonium healing. If you've had Reiki, if anyone here has had Reiki, a lot of times is work on the body, and you can have someone working above you or actually touching your body, and it raises the vibration. Harmonium healing is some energy work, and it's done on your spinal cord while you're lying down, and it helps to heal the body of pain. So a lot of us hold a lot of body of pain from our lives since we were children, but beyond that, from past lives. And then also, which is really important, what a lot of people don't understand as deeply, is ancestral trauma. So body of pain can be something, the trauma can live in the DNA up to 14 generations. So that's huge, because if you want to think about what your ancestors were going through, like even 5 generations ago, 7, but this is the kind of stuff. So Harmonium healing helps release some of that. And usually this is the one I prefer. So when I go to someone, I love all my practices, but that's the one I will do an exchange for with one of my fellow Harmonium. And there's always a shift I can feel in the next 24 to 48 hours. There's a letting go of something. So that's what
I think I need that. He's speaking to my soul. Well, it's so funny because I do a lot of this work. Yeah, Brenda, wow, 14 generations. Yes, both Brenda and Bianca both said the same thing.
Yes, it's a lot, and I can speak. I know from my ancestry of color is where the huge trauma is. My mother died unexpectedly 2.5 years ago. She went to a doctor for a stomach ache. No history of ever being ill. She was in good shape. We thought she was going to live into her 90s, like my grandparents, my abuelitos, and she was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer and died 35 days later. And this, on a deep journey, I started seeing in shamanic journeys and different things, the ancestry and the trauma. And my mother, pancreatic cancer is about anger. Process anger. My mother had a lot of anger. since all my life, I just remember my mother being angry, right? And, she had things, and I started discovering what happened to her as a child. And then I went even back generations ago, and I saw the trauma. And some of the things that I saw were horrific traumas. But I felt one ancestor go through this trauma that was just unspeakable. And she basically just checked out. It was like she couldn't deal with it. Like she just she completely emotionally checked out. So what happens with that is that it continues living in the DNA from generation until somebody gets to process it. And I believe that a lot of us right now, the stuff that's showing up, and it might show up a lot of times, we're going to have this conversation around sex and sexuality. A lot of times it's showing up in our sexual lives, relationship lives. That's where we're going to see it showing up. And a lot of times it is the trauma.
Right. So you could do this virtually as well?
The Harmonium Healing not has to be in person.
It has to be in person? Damn.
Yes,
I know y'all are saying damn too, right? Damn. Because I'm ready to call to set up an appointment so we could do that. Well, and it's so interesting because, I always talk about, even with my work, I also work with the generational trauma, right? Mm-hmm. Because I always tell them, like you said, it's stored in the DNA and it's stored in our cellular memory. Our bodies have cellular memory.
Yes.
And like you said, as women of color or people of color, mm-hmm. we hold on to more. And that's one of the things, like, my family went through, slavery. We were enslaved. The women were raped. The men were beaten. So all of that stays in our DNA and our cellular memory. So, like you said, and a lot of times, it does affect our relationships. It affects our sex life, and we don't realize that.
It affects our heart. I mean, can you imagine? Mm-hmm. What it felt like to have your child taken from when you were 7 years old, to watch your son being brutally beaten? This is the kind of stuff, to see the man you love burned in front of you. And
yes,
this is the kind of stuff that broke your heart. And then I would imagine that the rest of the children, maybe like you didn't love them as much because you couldn't bear, like, what if this happens to you? So you're blocking your heart, and it's the heart. A lot of times it's our hearts that have been broken from previous generations, and it's showing up. It's showing up. It's showing up in the bedroom.
Yes.
Showing up in our relationships, and showing up in our broken relationships.
Mm-hmm. And Bianca says here, I truly believe I had ancestral trauma, which caused me to have 3 pins put in my hip because my leg bone slipped from my hip. Wow. And T. Zipporah, I hope I'm saying your name correctly. I'm new to understanding sex, magic, and healing, so thanks for the information. You're welcome. We haven't gotten into that yet. But look, so this already is good. Look at how much we've gotten within that first 8 minutes. Guys, I'm going to be transparent. I almost canceled today because I had like a migraine that was so bad. But I was like, this live is going to be so good. I can't cancel. I was like, I'm going to just have to make my way. I popped ibuprofen again just before, coming on. And I don't like taking medicine. But I was like, I got to do this because it's going to be good. And we already getting a lot of information. I mean, so because, 14 generations of holding on to that trauma. And so, man, when you say that, it's like, we really have work to do. Because we're passing these down on the next generation,
It's huge. They've done studies with survivors from the Holocaust, their grandchildren. So, for example, they did a study where they had parents and grandparents that didn't tell the young children anything about what happened to the grandparents. So these 4 and 5-year-olds that hadn't gone to school yet, that didn't know anything, they were having nightmares about burning in the fire pits, and having nightmares about starving to death in the concentration camps. So the DNA, the trauma is living in the grandchildren. So, a lot of, the thing too is a lot of our traumas have not been acknowledged. They've been unspoken. There's something that I saw in my ancestry. I believe that I come from my indigenous in Mexico comes from people that no longer exist. They were slaughtered and colonized. Like they're not, the culture doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
And, I actually saw a vision in a past life of, or it was an ancestor, I believe it was an ancestor, was it one of my ancestors in this space. And it was like Auschwitz. Everyone had just been massacred and what's happening is that it's showing up in us and we don't know. And if we look at the history, and this is how I look at it, is that if you imagine the original trauma, like they took so much of the poison that each generation takes some of the poison. And I look at my mother, and sometimes a lot of us are having challenging relationships still with our parents, right? Even with our mothers, because the mother, holds so much of this. That my mother took a huge dose of the poison, and it eventually killed her. But guess what? I only received a small amount of the poison, and that poison showed up in a toxic relationship, a narcissistic relationship. It showed up in a lot of heartbreak and a lot of different things in my life. But the generations before me took enough of it that I get to be free. I get to free myself. And this is what I feel like. I feel like if you're here right now, it's not a coincidence that you're here.
Right.
My guess is that you're the one that is going to be the one that gets to heal this. And it's really, I call it holy sacred work. It's so important because you're really healing. You're stopping the pain. Like it's been going on and on and on, and you're just stopping it. So that we can be free. So really now we can, like me, what I've been doing with my healing is freeing myself.
Yes. Yes. Oh, and that's so important, and I know so many people, I get people that come to me and they're just like, I'm broken. I've done all kinds of things and nothing is helping. Nothing is working. It's a process and we have to keep doing the work, and trying different things. That's why when you were talking about the Harmonium, I'm like, I'm ready to try that. And that's also just me because I know that on my journey, when I left the US in 2009, I was here, right? I had everything, like in terms of everything on paper that we should want. I had already owned my first house. I bought my first house at 26. I had 2 cars, an SUV and another car. I had a second condo that I owned that I was renting out. And I was like, okay, on paper, I was great. I'm doing well, financially, but I wasn't happy. And I was like, there was so much going on. And I'm like, what is going on? Our relationships weren't working. That fear of abandonment, right? Fear of getting hurt, being vulnerable because of the rape that's happened in the female line, right? Of my family. And my mother raised me I couldn't even go over anybody's house. I couldn't even be alone with my father. Like it was just so much. We got to protect the girls, yes. Right? And so that's in you because that's from the generations. And so I was like, there's more that needs to be done. And so that's when I found Tantra, that really helped me, And so we have to keep going to find these alternatives because, I did psychotherapy for years and years. And it was like, and that just wasn't enough. And I'm not saying it's not good because I am a psychotherapist as well as at the base, but you need more, because just to talk, it's limited.
Yes, and exactly. That's why I love the energy work, right? And we're going to be having this discussion around raising your vibration with energy, and that's what I do with my energy, like even the shamanic work. Like we're clearing the luminous energy field because what happens is that a lot of times regular traditional therapy doesn't get to the core wound imprints in the luminous energy field. We're made out of energy. And most of us have 2-3 core wounds and they keep showing up. These are, if you've been alive long enough, and you don't even have to be alive that long to have seen the patterns, right? It's the same man shows up, but the same woman shows up, the same relationship keeps showing up over and over and over. You can see it with your parents, right? And grandparents, like what are the patterns?
Yes.
And for some of our families, it shows up as the disease, right? Or maybe it's the depression keeps showing up. You just think, oh, this is just what's in our family, or the breast cancer is what's in the family. Well, the breast cancer is actually connected to the heart. So it's a wound of the heart.
Yes. So true. Woo, that's deep. See, this is why I can't cancel this. So as you guys are coming on, If you're on YouTube or Facebook, give this a like. Let us know you like it. Share it. I see somebody already tagged a friend. Um, if you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, and so you could be here every Wednesday. I'm having lives, okay, just to really kind of release the stigma and taboo around sexuality. So, can you give us a little bit of your background as well? Like, how did you start? You kind of already started. The Facebook love users, I'm loving it so far. Can't
Yay.
see your name because you have to go into through StreamYard and give them the okay so that your name could be shown on Facebook because of privacy.
Okay.
So if you
What do I need to do?
no, not you, the Facebook user.
Oh, okay.
Somebody on Facebook is typing,
It's
and the person who typed Leah Landry, and then I don't know if it's the same person that says, I'm loving it so far. We cannot see your name. So maybe you could just type in your name, or if you could go into StreamYard and give them the okay. The link should be on top of the Facebook thing.
mm,
Oh, it's Marie. Oh, hi, Marie.
um,
Awesome. Thank you for watching. This is my first time seeing you on here. Welcome. So,
so everybody, I'm Bird. It's Bird, and the last name is Mejia. It's Mejia. I'm trying to figure out how to give everyone permission. Yeah, you can. I'll get on your thing afterwards and tag.
wait, are you trying to do it?
Am I trying? I can't figure out how to do it.
Oh, what? Change your name?
Bird. Oh, there it is. There you go.
I just changed it.
All
okay. I got you. I got your back. Okay. So, you're welcome. Yes. So, what was I saying? Yes. So, I'm glad you ladies are loving it already. It's great. So, okay. So, yes, we're here to talk about how to raise your vibration through sex and energy. But you started sharing a little bit about how, your traumas led you to this relationship and how this kind of led you to this work. Can you share a little bit about that? Because I think it's so important for people to hear, you have just a powerful story. And then how did that, because this is how we came up with this title, me hearing your story and what you went through and even being on this fast, right? Or yeah, let's just go ahead and talk. Go ahead and share what happened. Not the fast. I'll let you talk. Go ahead.
Okay, so my story is, I woke up at some time in my life in my mid-30s, and I was not in joy. I've been married for quite a long time, and I didn't feel joy. And I hadn't felt joy for such a long time, and I didn't know what it felt like. And I was in a relationship where the man I loved cheated on me all of the time, and I still stayed. And we broke up, and I just couldn't leave. So I know that I didn't love myself enough to honor myself. It took until my daughter was 9 years old, and I was raised by a mother that yelled and screamed a lot. And I raised my voice at my daughter. I got mad at her about something, and she said to me, Mama, you've been really crabby lately. And I said, I have to do something about this. Yeah. I think my sister had told me earlier, she goes, you should do some yoga or something. I'm like, I don't have time, because I was working the job. I was trying to build a part-time business. I'm raising my daughter, supporting my then husband's business. I'm doing all this stuff. I'm like, I don't have time. Are you crazy? And then when she did that, it was like, I have to, because I can't pass. I don't want to pass this anger on. So that's where I started. That's where I found the Shakti Naam Yoga. And it was I wanted something that was peaceful and calming. And I started going, and it started changing my life. It just taught me how to breathe. It started slowing. It started this healing process. And then there was an opportunity to become a teacher. And I said, I had no intention of doing any of the work I'm doing now. I just knew I needed to heal. So I started the healing journey, and that led me to leave the relationship. I think a friend of mine actually came to me when I was working my job that I hated. So I was in a relationship that didn't make me happy, and a job that didn't make me happy. Not even, I think for a lot of us, right? That there's a whispering. I just heard Oprah talking about, there's a whisper inside saying, there's something more, but you don't want to leave. I have a daughter. I didn't want a broken relationship. I was, and it wasn't, the truth was that I was used to the pain. I was raised by a mother that didn't love herself. And so a friend came to me and she said, look up the word gaslighting. And I Googled it and my mouth just went like this. And I realized that I had been in a narcissistic relationship. And I believe, you know, we get this word for narcissism, and I didn't even know what that was, right? It's a form of emotional abuse. I believe it's a legacy of ancestral trauma. So I started healing, and then I left. And then things got really, really hard. Like it was just horrific what I was going through, different heart. And then my mother died. And that really just spun me like unexpectedly into this deep, deep healing. And I started looking at my root. I'm like, okay, what's the root of the relationship? I said, let me look at, I'm thinking it's my first boyfriend, right? You know, in college or high school. And I'm like, no, that's not it. And then I'm like, it's my mother. This is how my mother treated me.
Oh, that's deep.
My mother treated me. And then after my mother died, I was shown a bunch of visions and different things. And I've had communication with my mother. One of my communications with my mother, and you know, in other cultures, it's normal to communicate with our families, right? You know, in the
ancestors.
A lot of us don't think. I think that's like crazy, but I was actually in a pool. I connect well. I connect powerfully in the water. So I do my breath work in the when I'm in the water, and I'll do my yoga poses. And I was doing this, and I missed my mom, and I said, "Mama, I miss you," which I normally do, and I could feel her, and then all of a sudden the tears. For 15 minutes, I started crying, and my mother said to me, she said, my daughter, don't worry, you gave me the unconditional motherly love I looked for all my life before I died.
Wow.
And then I started crying, and she said, I was so angry at you. And she said, you chose a man just like my father, and I hated my father. And I started crying, and I said, Mama, do you forgive me? And she said, yes, my daughter, because you had to go through that in order to heal the lineage. Heal the pain. And I heard my mother's voice for 5 minutes say, my daughter, you've broken the chains. My daughter, you've broken the chains. My daughter, you have broken the chains.
I'm getting chills.
So, you know, that's what I was working. That's the work I did. And so when I was going through this process, I mean, literally, one day I heard a voice also that said to me, your life purpose is to empower others on social media with photos and videos. Well, the problem was that I was petrified. My greatest fear in the world was being on camera. Like, completely, and I didn't even like being photographed. So before I did my first Facebook Live, was that almost 4 years ago, there was no video in the whole world with me. Like I was a person that someone got the video out, I was just like this, and I wasn't. So I believe when you start the healing process, you also start learning what your bliss is. Things come to you. You start understanding your life purpose, but you can't. A lot of times, you know, we're looking for it, but we can't when we are in things that don't feel good, right? In relationships that don't feel good, in jobs that don't feel good. Yes.
Sorry. Gregory said, can I ask a question? I was just saying, yes, you can. Okay. But go ahead, you can continue.
Okay.
Didn't mean to disrupt you. I was just trying to.
No, I just thought he was going to ask me. No. So that's been kind of my journey. And in that process, I just dug into all the type of healing I could. So I'm trained in Reiki and Shamanic Energy Medicine and just about everything you can think of. I've been trained because I'm so passionate about, first of all, healing myself and helping others.
Yeah. And so what are some of the things that you have done? Like so like for me, for example, when I've had to get rid of an excess energy or whatever, I was actually just telling a friend of mine here, I usually do this cleansing with eggs, right? Just kind of like a boiled egg, and that is a shamanic practice.
Yes.
And so that's really good to do. Like in addition to that, like can you share anything else? Like did you do anything specific to kind of cleanse your energy, to change your vibration? Like when you were leaving your ex, the abusive relationship?
Well, since we're talking about sex, let me tell you about sex.
Yes. Tell us about sex.
Yes. Part of the reason I stayed for such a long time was because the sex was good, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you're in a toxic relationship. And let me also say this. When we are in a toxic relationship, you know, and whether it's a narcissistic relationship or anything, we're in it because there's a part of us that's attracting that, right? Yes. I know it's real popular. I mean, it's a real thing that a lot of empaths attract energy vampires. And the reason is because deep down, I didn't feel worthy. I didn't feel like I was lovable unless I was perfect.
Right.
I didn't feel like I was enough. And those are the wounded things and a lot of the ancestral stuff also from my mother and all the traumas that I didn't realize. So you're attracting that. So the number one thing, too, is to clear the energy, is to start loving yourself and honoring yourself. And the powerful way, I feel like one of the most powerful ways to begin that process is to set your boundaries.
Yes.
Right? It's to set your boundaries because energetically, let me get back. I'm going to digress, but I'll get into that in a minute. But when I left, no, I stayed because of the sex was good. All right. And one of the first relationships I had afterwards was with a man who had been celibate for 4 years. And he had been on a spiritual journey. He had been married twice, and he was on his second divorce. And he said, you know what? It's not her problem. It's not the problem of the relationship. It's me. I need to figure out what's wrong with me. And he went on this spiritual journey for 4 years, wasn't intimate with anybody, just learned to really love himself. And when I met him, his vibration was so beautiful and strong. And the sex, OMG. Like that existed. And he wasn't doing any kind of fancy, any kind of thing, but his energy was just like, it was amazing. It was by far, you know, what I thought was good sex is like, for me now, it's like under, like down, down, down.
Right.
Like so amazing. And it was just, now I know, is that he had been honoring himself and his energy was so beautiful.
Wow. That makes sense.
And it helped me. And we were only together, intimately relationship for about 6 weeks. And I knew I had healing to do, and he knew I had healing to do. And he knew that it wasn't going to benefit him energetically to be in that space. We're still really, really beautiful friends. I love, like, we do things together, and he's a beautiful man in my life and not my life partner. So never cross that again. But he taught me about what is possible with the energy. And I believe that healing really helped me start, because I didn't know when I was with him. I was like, when I'm with him, I feel safe. And then I'm like, I've never felt safe in my life. I've never felt safe with a man. I've never felt safe with my mother. And what I learned was that I get to feel safe within myself. So for me, a lot of the energy work for me has just been taking time by myself to clear, kind of like to clear that. So I believe the purpose of a sexual union is to raise your vibration.
Yes.
A lot of us are here and we're taking care of ourselves, and then a man enters and his vibration's down here, and then we just put ourselves back down, and then we keep doing it, and then back down we go, and it affects our energy and affects everything in our lives.
So agreed. So agreed. So Gregory Buttocks, he asked about our thoughts on abstinence, and does abstinence raise energy? Well, this was a big thing because, you know, when you and I talked, you know, you talked about your period of celibacy.
Yes.
Right. And you almost kind of made me go through it. I kind of wanted to do that last weekend, and I was like, no, because, and I was like, yeah, this weekend I'm gonna go get celibate. Then I hear from a guy, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's not gonna happen. But all jokes aside, you know, I do want to hear your story about it. But for me, and I really did think about it, and then I was like, no, because I actually did go for a period of celibacy, not consciously where I said I'm going to be, but it just kind of happened. Like I wasn't allowing people in. I kept meeting guys that just I wasn't, you know, interested in, and you know, and so I went through a long period. So I was like, that's not quite what I need right now. What I need right now is, you know, maybe doing just some fasting. Like I said to you, I'm going to do this weekend, some fasting and meditation, and just doing some specific work. So, but anyway, so yeah, so if you want to share about that, because that kind of goes in line with what Gregory is asking about abstinence and is raising energy.
Well, so let me just say this. I think we're all on our own different journeys, and one way is not everyone's way. So let me just say that. So I'll tell you what I've been doing, and it wasn't my intention. And I've actually now been celibate for 3 years. I have not been on a date, although October 22nd, when I'm off, I'm in my Mars period. So there's energies, you cycle through different energies every 52 days. And when you're in your Mars period, it is not a good time to start anything. So I'm in my Mars period right now, but when I get off, I'm actually going to open myself up and start dating. But that does not mean I'm going to start. The man who I'm intimate with me has to earn that. It has to be somebody. So first of all, let me go energy one-on-one. We're energetic beings. We're made of energy, right? When you're next to somebody, like you and I, even via Zoom, right?
Mm-hmm.
When we first had that talk, what did you do? Your energy, both of us left like this, like
yes,
right? Because even this way, it raises your vibration. So there's two different things about energy. These are like the basic things. And Dr. Bruce Lipton talks about that. Okay. So if you're vibrating high and someone's vibrating low and you connect, what happens to the energy flow? A lot of times people think that, you just kind of continue a little bit. No, what happens, this person gets higher energy and your energy just flatlines and dissipates, completely flatlines your energy. So for example, when you're with somebody that's got really low vibration, it just depletes your energy. So those of you that have a relationship with people and sometimes the energy vampires are families, and sometimes, again, I believe it's a symptom of ancestral trauma. So not to have judgment around it, but this is a thing, right? So, but when you're raising your vibration and you connect with someone that has high vibration and you meet, it actually raises both of your vibrations. So take you and I, for example, right? You and I connected on social media. We did a Zoom and our vibrations we've been working on our vibrations and we left and it was even higher. So what if we lived in the same city and then we connected, right? It would have even been done this to our vibrations.
Yes.
Right? Now, what if we were intimate, right? Now that vibration is even stronger.
Yes.
So if you have something that's powerful and it's going to elevate you, then it's going to be really powerful. But if it's not going to elevate you, it can really mess up your energy.
Girl, where do you live again? I'm about to come over there and start dating you. You want to try a woman? Maybe it's better. We get together, our energy be like this. Raise it. Oh, don't mind me. I like to have fun. I like to joke.
I love that.
Awesome. So Bianca says, I have been noticing how I often do not feel safe. And it is so surprising how often it shows up for me.
You don't feel safe. So feeling safe is a root chakra issue. And I believe this is central to trauma in ancestral trauma. Because if you feel safe, and a lot of times our parents, like my mother didn't feel safe. What I realized is that my grandfather was narcissistic. He had that trauma, right? And she was physically and sexually abused as a child. So she didn't feel safe. So she didn't feel safe and she never healed that. Now she's my mother. If she doesn't feel safe, how can you give to your child what you don't have?
Yeah, that's safety.
Right? So I grew up never feeling safe. So for a lot of us, we're always in this fight and flight and we don't feel safe. And that's what I learned when I dated this man that was so beautiful, that had been abstinent for such a long time. And his energy, I believe, was so powerful because he had taken that time to love himself and to elevate himself. But I realized, I'm like, I feel safe with him, but you know what? My job now is to learn how to feel safe within myself. And a lot of times, if you don't never experience it, you don't even know what it feels like, right? If you've never felt safe, you don't even know what safe feels like. That's why when a man or a woman, whoever, a partner that shows up that is going to be healthy for you shows up, you push them away energetically because it's something foreign. You're going to connect with a lot of times what you're used to. So I would just work on feeling safe. I have on my YouTube channel. So again, it's Bird Mejia. If you go to YouTube, I have a free Heal Your Root Chakra Part 1 and Part 2. Look at
What is
that.
your YouTube channel? Just Google your name.
Yeah, just Google my name, Bird Mejia. And on there is a free, each one's about a half an hour, Heal Your Root Chakra Part 1 and Heal Your Root Chakra Part 2.
Oh, that's good. Good. There you go, Bianca. Yes. All right. So she said she's been working on her root chakra. So that makes sense why she started noticing it. So she began to become more conscious of that. It, coming to the surface.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
And so, my question, is when you are sexual with somebody, are you seeking the sex so you feel safe? And is that what you really want? Something's going to make you feel safe. Do you want to harbor that safety within yourself first?
Right.
So that you can express that. It's really about two wholes coming together. And then you can really create the tantric magic and all this.
Mm-hmm.
I think the possibilities are endless.
Yes. Yes. So agree. So agree.
You're welcome,
Wow.
my sister.
See, y'all, this is good. Have you been sharing this? Share this video. Share this because this is some great information. Share it. Don't forget to give a like, give a thumbs up, all of that. So, and that's so interesting because I know so many times, even in my story when I was younger, and I met a lot of people, they would have sex to get that feeling of safety, feeling of comfort, feeling of love, and then afterwards would feel empty. I would feel empty so many times before I would have sex with someone, and it was for the wrong reasons. Trying to get something that I wanted, that I needed, and I couldn't get for myself first and foremost, and then choosing someone whose energy um, wasn't someone that deserved to enter into my space.
Yeah.
And I would feel horrible after. I've had times where I would have sex with someone, and the next thing you know, that night I can't go to sleep, or the next day, like I'm anxiety, and so that's why this is so important, just to have this awareness, to have this consciousness of who you're allowing in.
Yes.
And it comes from getting to know that person first. Now, I've never been one to say, oh, you got to have a 3-month rule. I don't think there should be any rules.
Yes,
But,
I'm not big on the rules either, sister.
yeah, but you have to take the time to get to know that person, however long that is for you, talking to them, going out, feeling their energy. Sometimes just being, while they're there, just being in silence and seeing what you feel around that. And that's the best thing.
And
Go
what you
ahead.
feel, I mean, I gotta say, like, especially when you first meet somebody. So how many
Mhm.
people have met somebody, like you first met somebody, and the moment you met them, you had a bad feeling on them?
Yes.
Very most first moment, but then they're beautiful, or she's beautiful, charismatic, this other person, and can be even female, men, whatever, right? And then they're so charismatic, and then all of a sudden you find yourself dating this person. And then you find yourself in a relationship with this person, and then it's not healthy, and then you remember, I was warned. It's like the energy never lies. So, even
Never
if
lies.
you're somebody that's saying all the right things and doing all the right things, right? How do you feel afterwards? Like how
Mhm.
like how do you feel in their energy? Does their energy lift you up? Or do you feel depleted and sucked? Because if you're just around their energy and it's doing that, this is what it's going to do when you're intimate with them. It's going to either raise you up or it's going to deplete you. And I have been with a couple soulmates that I loved, and they weren't taking care of themselves. Like they were being the players and they were doing all this stuff. And that's actually why I didn't make an intention. I'm going to intend to be self. The last two men I was with were men that are soulmates, and I love them. And when I was with them, I could feel, because I'd been doing enough healing. I was like, oh my God, I don't feel good. And, one of them I saw a little bit afterwards. I said, and he was vibrant, alive. I said, "You've been really, really doing good. Your energy is really great." He was like, "Yeah, I feel really vibrant. I just feel so great." I was like, "It's because you got my energy around you now."
Mm-hmm.
Like I just plugged him in. And what it did to me was like, and I was like, I don't care if it's someone's a soulmate or a twin flame. I don't care if I love them or not. Like, if it's not someone that is going to lift me and raise my vibration, then why? I mean, for me,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, for the momentary pleasure, I can get momentary pleasure on my own.
Right. Right.
So this is why, the energy, right? We are cultivating energy. And I feel like this is the ancient wisdom that has been lost with women. I believe back in the day, long time ago, women were taught this, that we have
Yes,
this
I agree. I believe so.
energy, and you want to only combine that with someone that's going to lift this up, because what it does then to us is it empowers us even stronger, right? A friend of mine, I have a friend that's actually going this journey herself, and she said something beautifully. She said that every time, for example, when it's a man and a woman, when a man enters a woman, as women, we express what we receive. So if you are receiving a man who's confused, that doesn't feel good about himself, that's sleeping with person to person to person because he needs to get his needs met, that's what is going to get expressed. That's what
Mm-hmm.
we'll express into the world, and that's going to take our vibration down. So just it's a powerful process to, and then even just being real conscious.
Mm-hmm.
I believe this sexual act is to unite. It's, you connect with the union, you connect with God, you connect, and you
Yes.
create from that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
really be conscious about how you feel.
So let me ask you, what are your thoughts? Just to kind of go the opposite of Gregory's question. What are your thoughts on um, polyamorous relationships? Can that raise the vibration? Can it not? Can it hinder it? Or just what are your thoughts on that?
Mm, um, my personal, so let me speak a couple of things.
Okay.
I think in our current world, the way things are, um, if it's not benefiting you, like if your needs are really that I want to be in relationship, or I want to um, receive, I guess my intention, what are you really wanting? So if
Mhm.
you are in a situation where you're polyamorous, but you're really wanting commitment from somebody, then that's going to, so number one, be honest with yourself about
Okay.
what your true intentions are. Um, I just read a book, what was it called? Spirit and Water by Malidoma Somé. And,
Mm-hmm.
they talk about, the marriages were polygamous, right? They had different relationships, but they always came to the sacred space. Sexuality was always a sacred space with
Mm-hmm.
humans that had been initiated, that were high vibration. So my concern about that, personally for me, is what kind of energies am I bringing in?
Yes. Okay. That makes total sense.
What kind of energies are you bringing in? So if it's something that feels aligned for you, just look at what kind of energies. If all the people that are in this
Mm-hmm.
are really authentically high vibration and are in alignment with that, then I think it can be something that's beneficial. Um,
Mm-hmm.
if it's not for you and it's not going to benefit you, I mean, this is like, how many times have you known when your man or your woman's cheating on you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No.
Without any evidence, is right, because you can feel in the energy field that something else has entered here.
Mm-hmm. It was so interesting because about 6 or 7 years ago, maybe 5, 6 years ago, 5 years ago, I was in an open relationship, and we started from the beginning. He told me, I don't do traditional relationships, and I was like, okay, that's fine. And I was willing to give it a try. That was my second open relationship. Um, but this one was my first longer term, and where I was almost like the primary because we lived together, I guess. But it was interesting because at some point I learned a lot. I learned a lot about myself, about relationships, about healing jealousy and many different things. But then at the same time, I also could feel like I'm also very much an empath. So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of things, like I could feel stuff happening with my energy. And I was just like, yeah, I love this guy and this is great. But he's taking on, I don't know what energy he's taking on. And I knew him because he was also a tantric therapist. And so he and I were constantly working on our energies, constantly meditating, doing
Yes.
tantric practices together. But the partners he was choosing, I don't know, and it was still affecting me. And I was also had other partners. And
Mm-hmm.
then I got to the point where I said, okay, I'm gonna stop with these other partners because that's just way too much. But I couldn't tell him to stop because I came into that knowing that's who he
Yeah.
is.
Yes. Yes.
And so I tried to just do that at first to just have me stop and he continue. But then I was just like, it's not working. Now, that doesn't mean I wouldn't do another open relationship because I know now that there's many different things that you could do. Like there's couples who say, okay, I want to know the partner. I want to say yay or no, nay,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that might be something that I do. Fill out the partner and say, okay, I like this person's energy or I don't. I don't know. Right now, my latest have been a monogamous, but I don't know what the future holds. It could be monogamous, polyamorous. I don't know. But I would definitely do it differently because I felt my energy changing.
Yes.
I
Yes.
felt it and I was like, this is not working.
Yes. And I mean, I think that's why, if you look in some of the indigenous cultures that were really vibrant and healing, that's how they did it. It was done in a way that everyone was healed and whole, and it was the sacred union. So then it can be beneficial. But I don't know that how. I mean, you have to be honest. I don't know um, how many environments currently in our world are really conducive to that. And then, I mean, I do want to say that my main teachers have taught me, and they teach everybody that you carry on every person you're with intimately, like the energy stays with you
Mm-hmm.
3 to 5 years, even longer. I know
Yeah.
that Saguro says it stays with you like indefinitely, becomes part of you. Um, and so, I don't say that like as a like, be careful, like this,
Yeah.
religious way, this is going to do. It's just be conscious of what is good for you, what feels good.
Mhm.
I mean, I think the importance is raising your vibration. If you are in something polyamorous, if it's something that's truly benefiting you and really raising your vibration in a beautiful way, then that's something that is aligned for you. I know I recently had someone that approached me in a open marriage that was polyamorous, and he was interested in being with me. And I was like, well, there's no benefit for me. You're married, and I want a monogamous relationship, and you're having a child together, and you're like, it would have benefited him. It wouldn't have been beneficial for me. So
Right.
just look at, be very honest. And
Mhm.
if it wasn't that what I wanted, and I was, he was a healer as well. If I wasn't wanting those things, then maybe it would have been something that was beneficial to me.
Right.
So, again, we all have our own journeys. It's just to be aware. I believe that this union is sacred, and there's so many. I believe we haven't even approached the unlimited
Mhm.
possibilities with
Right.
Tantra, with the sexual things we can
Mhm.
do, with
Yes.
the connecting. Yeah.
Yeah. So let me say, if anyone else has any questions, feel free to ask. Ask away. And I do have another question. What if someone is single, right, and they want to have a period of abstinence or celibacy? What do you have any tips or any recommendations of what they could do in terms of self exploration, maybe, or just different ways they could raise their vibrations with sex with themselves? Let's say sexual exploring. Yeah.
Um, well, yes. I mean, there's lots of things. I mean, I think that most of the things you can do with another person, you can do with yourself. Get to know your body and what you love to do, and explore your own sexual pleasure, your own pleasure on your own. There's many places you can go with that. And then also just explore even the touch, right? Just,
Hmm.
just even just touch it. I think this is something we've lost, right? A lot of times we meet someone, we just go right into Just, even how does it feel just to
Light little touches.
touch yourself, right? And then to sensually dance, right?
Yes.
I mean, that's something that I love to do. Like your pleasure, like look at the pleasure. And then also what you can do with sexual transmutation, like just putting that energy into creation. So yes, that would be my.
I like that. I like that. And you just made me think, like with the touch and the, the self-pleasure. I do have a Yoni massage course coming up. And in the Yoni massage course, I always say it's important for women to take the course as well, because you're learning different things that works for you. You're learning the touch. And just like that little touch you did.
I love that. Like a Yoni massage class for yourself, right? A Yoni touch.
Yes.
No, I mean, a lot of times we're expecting our partner to know what we like, but we don't even know ourselves what.
And it's so true. And majority of the people that take my Yoni massage course are women, and I'm so happy with that, because so many of them are like, I want to learn too. I want to learn how to please my body. I want to learn how to heal. Yeah. And they always take, every last person who's taken my Yoni massage course, every last woman or man too, have said how much it's healed them, because I go into breath work. They're doing breathing exercises. We're moving. And then for the Yoni massage course, I'm teaching vaginal mapping, clitoral mapping. That also holds on to all of those traumas within the body. So it's important that we take, we learn these things and we connect. And this is all part of raising your vibration and your energy as well.
And when you're doing that, I mean, I love that you're teaching that, because you're also healing, right? Because a lot of times, if there is a history of rape in our ancestry, and a lot of us, especially those of us of color, we have a history of rape, horrific kind of rapes,
yes,
right? And those practices help us heal that.
Yes.
And to honor, and it's not something that's just you want to just shove down. I know for me, like what's happened for me is like yeast infections I've gotten often in my history, and that's a sign of trauma, right? And like my research it was from the lineages and the trauma and the sexual trauma, and it can show up. So doing things like that teaches us how to embrace that, and instead of like that was icky and dirty and it was painful, that we get to relearn those things. So this is you do that.
Yes. So T. Zipporah said, I know someone who has a positive polyamory marriage, 2 women and 1 male, and they just had a little boy. It's definitely a rare love. It can definitely happen. When I was asking the question about the raising the vibration, it wasn't necessarily whether it's positive or negative, right? I know that there's a lot of great polyamorous relationships. But it depends on where the person want to be. There's some people who are constantly trying to raise their vibrations and others who aren't. And so I really love your answer. So it's like, okay, be honest with what you want and where you are, and then consciously choosing the partners. So if we're in this together, and let's say my partner and I, we decide to have a polyamorous, but we're both conscious that we're trying to work on raising the vibrations. And this is me now on this hindsight after having this conversation. It would be like, let's choose the partners together. Let's both have conversations, get to know them, feel the energy, and then you can have that other partner, I can have that other partner. And that's what I didn't do. And I didn't know or even think of doing that. For me, it was just like, this is not working. I'm feeling too much. My energy is shifting. I'm going here and I'm doing all of this work to go here and I'm doing this. So it was just like but I could have actually said, well, can we do something different? Can we talk to the partners? Can I, say yes or no? Maybe he would have said, no, I'm not trying to do that. Then I could have said, okay, well, we're ending. Or he could have said, okay, I like that, So there are other things that can be done in this polyamorous, but again, it also depends on where you're at. So if you're not trying to raise your vibration, and I'm not saying I don't know the person that might be considered a successful polyamorous relationship, just like a regular monogamous. Wherever the goal is, decides whether it's successful or positive or not, right? So it's so interesting.
Well, there's plenty of monogamous relationships that are low vibration because your partner's low vibration and you're
Right.
just not challenging each other, and it's just, or you're low vibration, you kind of do this thing, and that doesn't necessarily, but it's really choosing what is going to elevate elevate you. And then, to get back, and I know we're almost out of time, and you're right, this went quicker than I thought, right?
Right.
Some of the things too is even to play with, cultivating your sexual energy. You can even cultivate that just consciously, lift that energy. I know my friend that went celibate, he talks about that. He goes, I just cultivate that energy. I feel it. And not even touching himself, just feeling it to the point where it's almost ecstatic. And then I just release that all throughout my body. And he uses it to raise his consciously, he raises his vibration. You can use your sexual energy always and play with it and explore with it and see how it can just raise your vibration and feel also. I think this is another thing that we can do it. I can just speak as a woman. Probably men can do it the same, but I feel like if you really connect with your womb energy and you connect with your sexuality there, you can use it as an antenna.
Yes, I believe that.
Feel out what is going to raise your vibration. I mean, all creatures except humans feel out vibration, and if it's low vibration, they go away from it because low vibration gets them closer to death. Humans say, oh, low vibration, I want to go closer to death. Let me run and heal that. Let me love that. And you can use that womb energy and your sexual energy to feel it out like, ooh, is this? Like, it's like another antenna for you. And it's
right. So let me ask you, do you have any classes or workshops coming up? Anything you want to share?
Yes, I have a workshop coming up. I have things launching in January. It's going to be Reclaim Your Joy is one, and another one is The Way of the Modern Medicine Woman, if you're interested in this kind of work. Those are two. And then I also always, I usually only work one-on-one. If you want to work one-on-one with me, you can reach out as well. I do 3 and 6 month journeys to powerfully go into the deep healing, and the purpose is to basically reclaim your joy. Because we get to be joy, and we get to heal. We get to heal the lineages. Our ancestors didn't get joy, and we do.
Awesome. Well, guys, follow Bird. If you have not yet, do that right now, because this has been great. And look, like I said earlier, if you were not, I had such a headache, I was going to cancel, but Spirit was like, no, don't do it. Don't do it. Keep it, because it's going to be great. And we even talked, I was like, okay, 30 minutes, maybe we'll end it sooner. I'll let you know how I'm feeling, but it flowed. It was so quick. So I'm gonna go rest after this now. But if you're not following her, follow her on Instagram, Bird Mejia. YouTube, you can look her up as well, Bird Mejia. And check out, if you're interested, Reclaim Your Joy, Way of the Medicine Woman workshops. Check those out. You have a website as well?
Yes, it's birdmejia.com.
Oh, I pronounced your last name incorrectly. Bird Mejia. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. So you can go visit her website, see what she has. It's been great. And so, as I said, I do have my Yoni Massage course coming up that begins October 18th. It's a 4-week virtual course. I also do one-on-one sessions, tantric therapy sessions, rebirthing. You can find me on Instagram at Prandara, Prim_Tantra, Twitter and Facebook at Renee Adolphi, Patreon. I'm actually starting something new. Normally my Patreon, I have Sunday self-exploration, Monday meditations, and Tuesday Tantra Tuesdays. I'm going to still have that, but I'm actually going to be sharing my personal journey. So any of the tiers, you can hear my personal journey, because I'm just being called to share my personal journey. So it's going to be on exclusively for Patreon members right now. It's really going into my day-to-day, what my tantra practice looks like, my struggles, whatever I'm going through. I'm sharing that on Patreon, talking about how I got into this, just kind of getting you to see the life of a tantric therapist here in Brazil. So join me on Patreon for that. My website is www.prandaraprem.com, and I'm also on Clubhouse at Prandara Tantra. And I think that's where I found you. We met on Clubhouse, right?
Yes, we did. Such a beautiful honor to be with you here today.
Yeah. So what is your clubhouse? Let me put that on here too. What is your clubhouse?
I have one. It's Bird Mejia, but I also have a room called Sham Yogi, and I'm
And
doing the
and
Sham
room
Yogi, the Sham Yogi room. It's SHAM
SHAM
YOGI, like yogi. GI.
Sham Yogi.
But you can find me in Clubhouse under Bird Mejia. I'm
Okay.
pretty,
Yes.
yeah.
So you're simple. All you have to do is just remember her name, and you
Yeah,
can
I'm
find her
across
anywhere.
the board, Bird Mejia, every place. So
Right. Unlike me, you're gonna find me on the Renee Adolphi or Pandara Prim, but I struggled with giving up my Renee name because it means rebirthing, and I'm constantly rebirthing. But Pandara Prim means to go with the flow of love and life. So I'm like, okay, I'm using
so you
both.
are so you are both. So I love that
I'm
you are
both.
both.
I'm both. So thank you so much, Bird. This was amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you to everyone who came in and watched and participated. Again, if you're new to the channel, give me a like, hit that subscribe button, and also the notification so you can receive notifications for my upcoming lives. Every Wednesday, I do have, sometimes I change the time, so it's good to hit that notification. That way, you don't miss my next live. And that's it. I'm gonna rest now. Good night. Love you all. Thank you. Thank you once again, Bird. This was amazing, and I look forward to doing more with you in the future.
Sending you so much love and light, my sister.
Thank you. Hugs. Bye.